We're talking about a leadership development pathway, and we're using three key words: discover, develop, and deploy. Right now, I want to hone in on the development side of our leadership gifts, of our spiritual gifts, of the seed that God has placed in us, in the environment, greenhouse environment in which He has placed us. We're going to talk about developing now those gifts, not only within ourselves, but within other people as we disciple them and help them become all that God intends. Now, I thought about my own pathway and what God was doing in me to develop me. And the backdrop of all of this, of course, is His grace. And the backdrop of this is character development. He can use the hard things in our life to develop that character. He's doing something in us before He's going to do something through us. Matter of fact, a prayer that was taught to me many years ago that I still say today was this: Lord, do in me all that you need to do so that you might do through me all that you want to do. That's a dangerous prayer, friends. Lord, do in me all that you need to do so that you might do through me all that you want to do. Now, as He's doing this work in us, He's also intending to work through us because He loves the entire world, and He's kind enough to use you and me to be part of His plan to reach those people. So in the development process, I thought about the things that happen, that are going on, that we build upon the character development, that we build upon the things that we're walking through in life. And I've identified 4 or 5 words. They all start with L just to make it easy. We could have used different words, but these are the ones. And these are the things that seem to be going on. So here's what I'd like you to do as you hear this. Think about where you might be on this journey. Is God using one of those L words in particular in your life? And think about how you might be helping another person develop as a leader as you hear these words. Okay, we're going to be on page 15 and 16 here in our manual, so I'll just take you through it. So here we go. The strategy, a leadership development pathway. And you'll see that this is broken down into 3 years. It might be more, it might be a little bit less. It doesn't have to be 3, but it does seem to take some time, and so we've identified it as 3 years. These could be 3 years of a internship, 3 years of a residency, 3 years of someone in your local church that you're developing. So here we go. The first thing that we'll talk about in developing a leader is based upon building upon the character, is looking at all aspects of ministry. And this gets back to you might have heard the helpful tool that someone has placed before us that says, I do and you watch. And what's happening here is that someone is looking toward service in the kingdom. They're looking toward ministry. And so it's helpful in a residency and an internship to look at all aspects of ministry. We do this for our church planters. They're going to be leading entire churches. As they plant them, they need to understand ministry. And I'm not saying they're looking at perfect ministry because it doesn't exist. I'm saying that they are not even just looking at the good aspects of ministry, but they're looking at the good, the bad, the ugly. They're figuring out things they might do and emulate. They're figuring out things they might not do and not emulate. But the pathway here is to look at all aspects of ministry, and the idea as we help someone else is that we do the ministry, but we bring someone else with us to watch. That happens in year 1. The next L is the word learn, and this really travels with looking at all aspects of ministry. Someone is learning personal ministry. And as they learn, this means hands-on learning. So it's I do and you help. In my residency, we did weddings, we did funerals, I spoke at different places, I saw the kids ministry, the music ministry, all these different things happening within the life of the church. We're learning personal ministry by participating. I do, and you help. So look and learn go together, and as someone comes in that wants to head toward ministry, saturate them, take them along. Don't do anything alone. Bring them in with you. It's so important. It really is a carryover from discipleship. So important. Looking at learning. As that's taking place, maybe you're finding that there is some gifts of leadership in this person. And so we get to this aspect here. Basically, in year 2, they're going to start leading something. They're going to lead an established ministry. And this becomes Now, not me doing, but you do this, and I'll help you. In my ministry at that greenhouse environment after college, when I graduated, I started heading towards seminary, something that shocked me that I would even be doing. But I was given now a key leadership role in the college ministry, the very college ministry that I walked into, where that gal said, "You're Dave. I've been praying all summer." Now I was an intern with a key role of leading that ministry. And as I led, I was evaluated by the pastors and the intern leaders. I would do, and they would help me. There's one more component, however, and that's oftentimes overlooked in local churches, but it's one as church planters, as a church planting leader, that we cannot ignore. It's so vitally important. So here's the last L in the sequence: launching a new ministry. If you believe that God has called you to be a church planter, you've got to start something. And you probably need to look back on a track record. You probably will look back on a track record of starting things. God put those gifts in you years ago, but now He's activating them for the purposes of the kingdom, for church planting. And so we always require of a resident or of an intern to start something within the local church and successfully hand it off. And then if they can do that, then we'll think about planting a church. But it's amazing to me. I've assessed now hundreds and hundreds of leaders. I've seen church planting from every angle. And many times someone will be asked to go plant a church having never started anything within the local church from which they come. We need the safety of the greenhouse to help us and protect us as we start things. So for me, when it came time for me to be tested in this, in my greenhouse back in the 80s, they asked me to start a worship service. I was a musician. I knew how to do bands. And so their testing ground for me was to start this ministry, lead it, grow it, and then hand it off. By God's grace, all that happened. But after that, I was then ready to go out. And that gets to the next aspect here. They had me leave. They sent me to go plant a new church in Huntington Beach, California. I left the greenhouse environment to go plant. And then when that happens, you do, and another watches, and the whole process starts over again. By the way, friends, this is exactly what I did when we started that first church. I grabbed people. They came into our environment of a church plant. They watched us plant. They watched us set up boxes, push boxes and set up stuff and tear down stuff and do ministry in that environment. We had them start to lead things. And because of that, and really by God's grace, we were able to send out an intern a year later. We were able to play big sister to a church that's now 26 years old. The next year after that, we sent out our first team the third year, our second team the fourth year. And the Lord just blessed that church to be able to see people go as they came to look at ministry, learn ministry, lead a ministry, launch a ministry, and then we sent them out. So they left to go start new ministries. So let me ask you, where are you in this process? If you had to look at these, if you're in a position right now of learning these things, you're being developed as a leader, where are you in this? What are your strengths in this? What are some things you might need to experience in this? Say you're thinking about planting a church. Have you started something within your greenhouse environment, and what would that take? So think about those kinds of things to see where you are.